Unlock your potential today at skillbakery.com.
Now, in this one, we'll focus on reducers, how they handle state changes, and how to manage multiple reducers efficiently using combineReducers. So let's understand pure and impure functions in Redux. If we talk about pure function, a pure function is one where the output only depends on the input, no external variables. It does not modify external variables, no side effects. Given the same input, it always returns the same output. On top, you can see a function definition which says pure reducer, and here you can see one example called function impure reducer. This takes an action, and if the action type is increment, it is incrementing the value of the count by 1. But what you see over here, the count variable is external to the function that we have, and hence the code that we have count plus plus, it actually modifies external variable, and hence it's treated as impure. On the other hand, if you see the pure reducer method, it takes two parameters, state and action. Based on the action type, we are updating the state. Now, state is basically within the function, and we are returning a new state without modifying any external data. And talking about pure function, if you look at the counter slice method that we created in our first demo, this actually is pure function. You can see the initial state, reducer, and everything is contained within the slice itself, and we are internally updating the value of count every time either increment or decrement is happening. Now, in this one, we'll also be covering how we can combine multiple reducers efficiently using combineReducer. For that, we'll have to make two changes. The first thing is we'll be creating a separate file altogether for our current reducer that we have over here, that's counter-reducer. So let's go ahead and create one called counter-reducer, and this one will be making use of the create slice. So if I go back to my store, and here, let me have all these copied and pasted over here. We will not be making use of the configure store, so we'll get rid of that. We will use the create slice, so we'll keep that. And here we'll have our counter slice defined, and then we will be extracting a couple of things like the action as well as the counter. So here we'll just export counter slice.reducer. So we have now created a separate file for our reducer. We have our store created over here. Obviously, the store will be updated with lesser code now. So here in our store, all we need to do is include the configure store, as that's what we will be having over here. And we will then remove this piece of code from here, the action and everything. And obviously, the counter reducer that we have defined over here will be combined with another reducer. So we'll be creating another reducer and we'll be calling it as theme reducer. So let's go ahead and create another reducer over here, and let's call it as theme reducer.js. And inside theme reducer.js, what we'll do is we'll be obviously importing our combineReducers. So this is what we will use to combine the counter reducer as well as the one that we are creating right now. So we'll get the counter reducer from our counter reducer file. So here we have our counter reducer, and then we'll be creating our theme reducer. So the theme reducer will basically work on a single action. It could either be true or false. So we have dark mode initialized as false, and then the action is the toggle theme. And if the toggle theme value is set to true, then we'll have our dark mode enabled. Otherwise, we'll have our light mode enabled. And this is what it is returning. So now we'll be combining these two reducers, the one which we have imported and the one which we have created. So for that, we'll be making use of combineReducer, and together these two are now producing a reducer called root reducer, and this is what we will be exporting from here. So let's export and save this. Now we'll go back to our store.js file, and here we will have to import the newly created root reducer. So let's do that, and here we will be using the root reducer as the reducer in our store. And then finally, we are exporting the store over here. Now in our app.js file, so here we have opened up our app.js file. What we'll do is, we'll be first of all importing the store. That's fine. But if you notice, the increment and decrement has now moved from store to counter reducer. So here we'll have counter reducer, and let's save this. And over here we'll be also including the dark mode feature. So here we have our const defined dark mode and set dark mode. And over here we are saying store.getState.theme.dark mode. And inside our use effect, we'll be setting the dark mode as we were setting the pound. So here we'll be setting it over here. And remember, we are just subscribing once, and these two reducers are part of it now. And at the end, we'll have one button which will be used to toggle. So here we will have our toggle button, and let's say the store.dispatch type we are defining over here as toggle theme. And in our app.js file, that is all that we need to do. Here I had a typo. So here we will be importing the root reducer from theme reducer, as that's the place where we created. Let's save this, and in our app.js file, in order to show the light and dark mode in action, we'll be updating our div with the class name app here to have the background set to dark mode as black, otherwise white, and the color is also accordingly set. And here in app.js, you'll notice that earlier we were having just store.getState.count, but now because we have combined multiple reducers, we have to specifically mention which reducer we want, and then we'll be able to access the count value. And the same needs to be set over here as well, set count store.getState.counter.count. So here on the initial load, you can see the initial state coming up, and if I click on increment over here, you can see the increment going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on and so forth. And if I decrement, that is working also fine now. Here, if I just get rid of this import and save this, you'll see that it's coming up as white, and the increment decrement is working accordingly. Toggle theme over here, if you see finally, when it's set to true, you're getting the color as black, and if I'm toggling it again, you'll be seeing that the value is set to false, and based on that, the background color has changed to white. So what we have learned is that how we can combine multiple reducers in one, how we can dispatch multiple actions, and how we can use the combine reducer in Redux. If you find the video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe.